Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Caddo Parish Commission regular meeting agenda to order at this time. If we can have the roll call, Mr. Clerk, I would appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Dominic.
Present.
Lyndon Johnson. Jackson.
Present.
Lynn.
Present.
Present. Cawthorn.
Present.
Watts.
Present.
Middleton. Atkins. Chavez.
Here, sir.
Smith.
Here.
Lewis Johnson.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
We have quorum.
If we all can stand, we'll have Commissioner Gerald Bowman will lead us in the invocation. He's had a lot of damage in his area, so I know he has some people to pray for. And we'll let Commissioner Matthew Lynn lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Everyone, please bow your heads. Gracious Father, we come to you as always with bowed heads and humble hearts, dear Master. Thank you for this day. God, just thank you for being the God of grace, mercy, and even favor, God. Ask for forgiveness of sins. And Lord, we thank you right now for just blessing everyone, not only in Queensboro, but everybody in Bossier and Harlan and anywhere else in the state that's been affected by tornadoes, Lord. Lord, help the people who aren't able to pay for things. Find a way, Lord, to help them, because you said you're with the poor and the rich, and you reign on the just and unjust as well, God. So for that, we thank you. God, I ask that you bless our president, God. Bless his administration and guide him. No person is perfect and no president is perfect. So bless him as well and help us to be protected. And bless our military as well so they can continue to protect us as well. God, help us up here every day, Lord. Help us to make the right decisions, and help us also, Lord, to do what is productive and progressive for our parish. It's in these other blessings we entrust in your Son, in Jesus' name, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Everyone, please face our flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance along with me. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Bowman and Commissioner Matthew Lynn, for helping us out on that. Gerald, wonderful prayer. Thank you so much.
Bless you.
Mr. Clerk, going on to our next item, please.
Next we have agenda additions. I have nothing. Sorry.
Okay. So our next item of business will be the citizen comments. Citizens who wish to fill out a comment card or speak or who wish to address the commission on any issue other than zoning. If you're here to address the commission on the issue of zoning, we'll have a public hearing later on. But if you wish to speak, you can fill out a comment card and bring it to myself or the clerk. And the individual comments are limited to 3 minutes. Just let you know, we do have a tremendous amount of cards, so let's please keep it to our time limit. And if y'all can come forward, I will be calling the names out. Lamar Miles. Mr. Miles will be the first one. Mr. Miles, I know you were here the other day. Appreciate you coming back. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you again to the President and to the Commission again. And thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all again on the same subject matter we spoke on last week, early part of the week, on the tax exemptions for Calumet facility. Last time I was here, I came by myself. This time I brought some other fellow co-workers with me that represent the Calumet workforce as well. And we're talking about some things Lynn spoke about, and some of the gas issues that we have. Some people that work in the fuel department that take pride in what we do at Calumet. So there again, we stand in support for the tax exempt program. And if it had not been for those programs that afforded to Calumet, I too, like many others, have built in the community and built in every one of you all parishes, where we pay and put money back into the system, back into the city. We pay a lot of tax dollars as well, and we appreciate your efforts, your concern, your thoughts, and keep Calumet in your mind where you vote this evening, that we do stand in favor of this tax exempt program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miles. Philip Murray, our next speaker is Philip Murray. Is Mr. Murray present? Hello, Mr. Murray. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you for your time today.
Sure.
So I'm here on behalf of Calumet requesting support for the Louisiana ITEP program. The Louisiana ITEP program, the stated legislative purpose is to support capital investment by Louisiana manufacturers to support job creation and job retention, and Calumet's committed to that. We've shown a genuine commitment to investing in the community as well as investing in the refinery and job retention and job creation. So we'd like to request, I guess, partnership with the Caddo Parish and continued investment by Calumet in the community, and also to show our support for the community and show that we're here to retain jobs and to hire in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Thank you for being here today. I have Lois Sheik. Is that right? Am I saying it right?
Lois Shy.
Hey, Lois Shy?
Shy.
She gets that name mispronounced a lot of times.
Hard to read right. How you doing, Miss Lois? How's that?
That'll work.
Miss Lois, thank you for being here today, and I know you're here with Interfaith, and
Right.
you have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Okay. I don't need all of that, and I didn't expect to be first, but it'll fit in with the rest of it. I'm at 5636 South Lakeshore Drive, apartment 723. Along with other interfaith members, I have read Governor Edwards' executive order as it relates to ITEP, and I believe that all of you have too. Therefore, I cannot understand how any of you can vote 100% exemption on all of Calumet's requests. Just automatic 100%. Thank you.
Thank y'all. And just a reminder, this is not a question and answer, and I know you didn't ask me that, but I just want to let anybody else know we can't make any comments. This is comments for y'all to us at this time. William Hall is next. Mr. Hall. Todd, that's not on the ordinance. It's because we don't have a public hearing on that. Am I correct?
Resolution, sir.
Okay, so he's here on the trailer park issue, though, a zoning issue, but I think we're not having a public hearing. We've already had a public hearing, so he has the right to speak now, correct? Is that correct, Todd?
That's correct.
Okay.
That one is, we've already had a public hearing.
That's okay. Mr. Hall, go ahead. You have 3 minutes, sir.
All right. Do you need my name and everything?
Well, you can go ahead and give us your name.
Okay. William Hall, 5617 Brandon Road, 71107, Shreveport, Louisiana.
And I thank you for being here today.
Well, I appreciate being here. I think this is our last deal on this thing. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to get out of they've got the water coming in on me from the trailer park and the ditch in front of my house. Now, they cleaned out the ditch the other day. And I've got water coming from the trailer park into my house, and into my ditch in front of my house, and I have sewage. Every time the sewage backs up over and the sewage plant quits, then it comes in front of my house, and it'll run anywhere from 2 to 4, 5, 6 days. It's run as much as a week and a half at one time. And I thought they was bleeding the water off, flushing the lines, but it's not. It's sewage. And that's the problem we have. They changed the natural drain about whenever the trailer park was bought. They changed the natural drain and run it into my property. And if they had put another 20 feet of culvert in, they could have went right back down to the natural drain. Now, what Mr. Manus needs to do is get with Mr. Martinez that bought the property down below me and see if they can't get together on putting a road and the drainage down in there, because Mr. Martinez has got to put a drain and a road down there for 500 feet from the corner of my property. So what they need to do is get together on the water and run the water back to the natural drain. They changed the natural drain over in the ditch in front of my house, and I'm on the cul-de-sac. A cul-de-sac is one way in and one way out, and they've used it for the past, 15 or 20 years, just as will. And they don't, in the trailer park, they don't cut the brush and stuff around the drainage ditch. If they would cut the brush and stuff around the drainage ditch, it'd let the water out and wouldn't back up behind it. The water will back up behind it, leave from all the trees, grass, and everything, and then after it backs up, it forms a dam. And then you've got water behind it, and then whenever it breaks loose, you got 6 to 12 inches of water coming down from the trailer park. But now some fella told me, he said, well, that's good. He said, it'll back up and it'll come down slower. But if you let it go out as it comes in, it won't back up and flood you to death. But that's all I have to say is on this thing is to take, something needs to be done to it. And it's going to have to be done because the next time that the sewage comes down through that ditch, I'm going to block that sewage off and put it up on them trailer houses on the Pine Hill trailer, or Alpine Trailer Park. But that's the thing that's going to have to be done. And if they come down and try to open it, I'm going to call the sheriff's department and have them arrested for trespassing or criminal property damage. So now that's the way it goes.
Your time's expired.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Reverend John Henson. Good afternoon, Reverend Henson. Thank you for being here today, and you have 3 minutes.
All right, good afternoon to you all. And I want to begin by saying thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your work here in this community and your dedication to the community. I have great concerns. I'm a part of Interfaith of North and Central Louisiana, Church for the Highlands. The church I pastor is very much an active part in that and addressing particular needs that are here in our community, especially from a faith perspective. And we are very concerned about the application that Calumet has for tax exemption. And I know others are going to be speaking about that, but I just wanted to say that one thing I have heard said is that we may lose a company like Calumet if we don't approve their application for tax exemption. And that creates obviously a great amount of fear that if we are seen as anti-business or something along those lines, then we won't be able to attract companies like Calumet, or perhaps we would even lose Calumet. I looked at other cities where Calumet does business and asked for exemptions where they had filed for similar kinds of exemptions, and found that that hasn't been the case, that the places where they have asked for these exemptions, one in particular, and this was in an article in the Great Falls Tribune about the Great Falls City Commission as they were hearing one of these about Calumet, Montana. And Calumet had asked for a very large tax exemption that would reduce the oil refinery's property taxes for the next decade. And this would affect it over the next 10 years, would be reduced from $68 million to $46.5 million. Great Falls commissioners said no. They voted against it. And they said, we love Calumet. We love the partnership that's here in our community. And one of the members, Craig Raymond, recommended that they deny the application. He said, looking around the room at the Calumet employees, they are probably thinking, where is the love? And Raymond said, and if this decision was based exclusively on that, there would be no question that we would recommend approval. Calumet is a great community member. However, the refinery's impact on emergency services, as well as a tight city budget that means deferred maintenance on city infrastructure, these are reasons why city staff recommends against approving the tax benefit application. And so they did. They denied that application. And the last time I checked, Calumet is still there. Calumet is still doing well, and Calumet is still very much involved in that community. And so I say that to say that there ought to be some common sense that is involved here in understanding that these monies, and I speak for people that I pastor in an inner city church working with what United Way has identified.
Reverend, your time has expired. We appreciate you being
I was going to
here.
invite you to come to church, but
You can still do that. He still can invite us.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mary Kay Talent. Oh, how you doing, Miss Talent?
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
Well, I'm here today representing Lakeview Waterworks, and I just want y'all to know that the Waterworks District and the Caddo Parish Sewer District 2 have had no complaints or issues over the last year and a half, and we're working better together. The two boards have been conducting business in a professional manner with each other. As a 48-year-old resident of the Lakeview community and past and present water board member, I have not missed a water board meeting in 8 years, and I attended all the sewer board meetings last year in 2017. And James Gavin, the president of the water board, of the sewer board, actively attends the water board meetings. It has been stated that our water district does not advise customers opening up new accounts at our office to contact the sewer district. This is not true. Our office manager or her relief person does in fact give them the sewer district's address, telephone number, and sewer deposit rate. She has them on a sticky note right by her phone. The office manager has no idea if the customer is on the community sewer system, District 2, or on a septic system. These boards do not want to be combined. Do not single these two boards out. If you combine our boards, then combine all of the water and sewer boards in Caddo Parish, just not ours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Talent. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for your comments. Charlene Kelly, Miss Charlene Kelly. How you doing today, Miss Kelly?
Oh, just fine, thank you.
Appreciate you being here today. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, Charlene Kelly, 935 Linden Street, Shreveport, 71104. I just wanted to say I am a retired teacher, and I come to support the children of Caddo Parish, asking you to take the money that you might give as an exemption and put it into the school system or other services like parks and streets and buildings that the children need. And I ask you to vote no for the exemption. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kelly. Wanda Easter. Wanda Easter.
Good afternoon. My address 6203 Bocage Drive, Shreveport, 71119. I have an article out of the Shreveport Times dated Wednesday, April the 11th, and it says, a notice is hereby given pursuant to Article 7, Section 23C, that a public hearing of Caddo Assessment District will be held Wednesday, May 16, 2018, to consider levy an additional or increased millage rate without further voters' approval. Now, you have been giving away tax exemption and raising, and now raising the millages. We are continuing to give away monies while I as a grandmother, is asked to make up lost revenue. I don't think that's fair. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments, but I don't know of any millages that we've raised since we've been here. Okay, Emma Shepherd. I don't know. I'm gonna ask you right now. I'll bring that up. Good afternoon, Ms. Shepherd. Thank you for being here today. And if you can give your name, and you have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you. I am Emma Shepherd, a retired teacher and a member of the Caddo and Louisiana Association of Educators, 3007 Knight Street, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71105. I am speaking in opposition to the tax exemption for Calumet. They have enjoyed millions of exemptions over many years with little to no accountability. As I understand, the industrial tax exemption program is designed to create new jobs for the communities they exist in. According to the Times, no new jobs have been created in a while and none are proposed in the new application. For those voting in favor who stated that it will provide jobs for residents in his community, I would challenge those persons to identify just how many of their residents are employed by Calumet now. We, as citizens, are expected to pay our taxes, and it is only fair that Calumet pay their fair share. They have benefited all these years. It's time for them to step up. We have lots of unmet needs here in Caddo, and those dollars could support. Even if you grant the exemption, grant it less than the 100%. The Sheriff's Office and Bossier City, they got it right. Bossier Parish, they got it right. Now it's Caddo's turn. So let's not give away our farm. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Shepherd. Thank you for being here today. Bobby Edwards. Good afternoon, Mr. Edwards. How you doing today? Glad to see you again.
Fantastic. How's everybody doing today?
Just fine.
All right, good. My name is Bobby Edwards. I reside at 4650 Lakeshore Drive, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71109. And as a former United States Air Force Vietnam veteran on the KC-135 refueling fighters in Vietnam. Also a retired engineer on the Aerospace Division, on the Space Shuttle and the Advanced Cruise Missile, the B-52 bomber. I stand in front of you today as a leader of Interfaith. We are urging the commissioners to deny the Calumet request for $450,000 in tax exemption. Our reasons are very simple. This does not fit the executive order signed by the Governor, Edwards. Some of the work appears to be for upgrade required by EPA. Machinery and equipment are the cost of doing business. And we have many needs in this parish, and we just don't think we can afford to give away a $450,000. Now, it appears we are paying for these exemptions. We're all taxpayers, and we expect everybody to do the same. We are a rich state, and we treat our people poorly. Let me elaborate on that. 30% of crude oil is produced in the state, 24% of natural gas produced in this state, 60% of crude oil refining, 23% of natural gas processing and handling, 17% of gasoline production, supplying Boxdale Air Force Base, by the way. And yet we are at the bottom of the state. I often ask myself a question when I joined the Air Force in 1970 downtown Shreveport, Louisiana. Why do my city, after being away all these years overseas and stateside, still look the same? What are we doing with the money that we have? I asked that question because I walk the same streets that I walked when I was a young teenage boy. And all that we ask that you do is just do the right thing. And as an engineer, I do believe in change. And I would like to see some of those changes. I appreciate your time, and I've learned a lot since I've been with you guys. And I thank you kindly.
Mr. Edwards, on behalf of the commission, I would like to say thank you for your service. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Lady Carlston. How you doing today?
I'm well. How are y'all doing? Good afternoon.
Nice seeing you again.
Good to see you guys. And I want to say that I'm an organizer, as you know, with Northern and Central Louisiana Interfaith and with Together Louisiana. And I feel a little bit like Rodney Dangerfield, that interfaith does not get any respect. We've come before this body. We've talked to you about these exemptions. We've explained to you why we've opposed them. After we speak, you call up the people that you call the experts. And we think we're experts in this. We have to rewrite the rules. We met with the governor, we've met with the attorney, we've met with Senator Adley, we've met countless numbers of times looking at and rewriting the rules. And so we think that we are experts in this process as well. And it would be nice sometimes if you guys would recognize us as being experts on the ITEP. The other thing we want to say is this process is new, it's confusing, change is never easy. Change never comes about easy, and we understand that right now the process is messy. We are proposing, we have a metrics that we'd like to present to you to see how we can both streamline this process, make it fair for all the companies coming before you, and let us be a part of the conversation and not the outside group that always comes to you to say, we want to be at the table. We want to be at the table. We want to help to really develop this matrix with you and be a part of the decision making. We thank you. Thank you, Mr. Middleton. You're frowning over there.
I'm just.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. We appreciate your service. We appreciate what you do. And again, we just want to be a part of the conversation. We are the people that brought this to you, and we only think it's fair that we be a part of the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Lady Carlson. Thank you so much. Thank you for your comments. And our next one is Miss Susan Caldwell. Is Miss Susan Caldwell here? Oh, there you are. You're behind the podium there. I couldn't see you. So thank you also for being here today, and you have 3 minutes too, ma'am.
Thank y'all for having us here, and thank you for your service to the community. I'm just here. I'm going to be, I always seem to bring paper, but I'm going to be giving you guys some paper. But I just wanted to, this is apples to apples comparison of Calumet, same company, in other cities. And you'll note on this graph that in San Antonio, they are paying $34.80 a barrel in taxes. In Great Falls, Montana, piggybacking on what Reverend Henson showed you, they're paying $29.40 a barrel. Here in Shreveport, where they actually refine the highest quality oil, they are paying $2.90 a barrel in taxes to the community. So then if you flip it over, and you'll have a copy of this, if you flip it over, it shows each of these other cities and Shreveport tax-exempt property versus taxable property. So if you note in Great Falls, Montana, they have over $312 million of taxable property, no tax-exempt property. In Bexar County, Texas, which is San Antonio, they have over $92 million worth of taxable property, whereas a little over $10 million of tax-exempt property value. In Caddo Parish, here in Shreveport, taxable property value is $122,250,000, $666, and tax-exempt property value $502,209,057. So that's a little bit of an imbalance. That's, again, as I said, apples to apples comparison. And I'd also like to say, when we came before you before, and we have met with the various ones of you individually, I think every one of you at some time or another, and when we came before you before, when Inferno was up for their exemption, and several of you said, well, this one is so small, don't go after this one. We're saving our big guns for Calumet. And so I would just like to say, as the wife of a retired B-52 radar navigator, that so far I have not been terribly impressed with your big guns. Just saying. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Ms. Caldwell. Thank you for your comments. I guess it's Dr. Tim Magner. Is Tim Magner here?
Yes.
There he is. How you doing, Dr. Magner?
Good. Good to see you.
Nice seeing you here today. If you can state your name, you have 3 minutes.
Sure. Dr. Tim Magner, I'm the president of the Greater Shreveport Chamber of Commerce, 12075 Ashland Way here in Shreveport. I just wanted to encourage you all to take a look at the broader impact of the conversation that we're having here today. I realize where we are with this process. It is in flux right now. I know the governor is making some additional modifications, and yet I think it's important for us to look at the conversation we're having as a community about what we value. And I think the important thing is to find that balance between the needs of the municipality and our need to be able to have institutions who are willing to come here and create jobs and who are willing to support the jobs that we have. When we look at the impact that business has in our community, there's a ripple effect. Every person who is hired has has a mortgage to pay or rent. They eat here. They contribute in a variety of different ways. And so when we look at the impact that that additional investment has in expanding or maintaining that, it's important for us to understand the value that that has in that ripple effect. Calumet has been a good citizen for a number of years. They've invested, they continue to invest, and they want to continue to invest. We can have conversations about the nature of the program or what happened in the past, but the reality is this is the first time we as a community have the opportunity to engage in a dialogue about what we value and to demonstrate to the business community that we value their continued presence here. This is, over time, a net benefit to the community. The taxes that Calumet pays or other industries will pay on the equipment that they're putting in place is, over time, a net benefit to the community. So we want to create the right kind of conversation with our business communities that let them know that this is a good place to do business. This is a good place to invest, and it's a good place to continue to do business. Notwithstanding some of the comments that have gone before, I think it's important to recognize that the dialogue that we're having is not just about one company. It's really about the nature of the community that we want to have and the nature of the opportunity that we have to engage business in investing in our community. This is one indication. This is one signal to Calumet specifically, but to our business community as a whole about what we value and where we place our priorities. I think it's clear that the dialogue about 100% and all that sort of stuff is masking the real issue here, which is how do we want to encourage and incent economic development in our community. I think we have an obligation and an opportunity to communicate to our businesses that we want their investment here and we're willing to encourage them through incentive packages. ITEP is the tool we have today. We may have other tools in the future. I'd encourage you in this instance to support Calumet's application and to encourage them, send a signal to our business community that we want continued investment here, that we want our jobs to continue to grow here, and that we believe that Shreveport is and Caddo Parish are the kind of place we want industrial investment. Thank you.
Dr. Magner, thank you for being here today. I appreciate your comments. Our next comments is Jeffrey Jackson. Is Jeffrey Jackson present? How you doing today, Mr. Jackson?
All right.
Glad to see you. If you can state your name, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
I'm Jeffrey Jackson, and I had got banned out of the federal courthouse.
You had what?
I had got banned out of the federal courthouse.
Okay.
But it was in 2014 when I put my bill in. It was just a verbal threat, and since they changed the courthouse, I had put in for the city attorney that she cannot go back in the court. You see what I'm saying? And I have a house on Greenwood Road that's been broke in, and I'm working on some things with that too. I just want to firm the commission board because it got something to do with the commission board and the lawgiver. I'm the lawgiver, the Godhead, oversee the Godfather.
Think you understand, but I know that we don't really have anything to do with the federal courthouse, if that's what you're talking about. So
yeah, but this is civil court now.
We thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
You have any other comments?
No.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for being a civil court.
Yes, sir. Have a good day. And Mr. Settle, John Settle.
John Settle, Fort Tillwood.
How you doing today, Mr. Settle?
Fine. I've heard Together Louisiana several times now, and with all due respect, each time I hear a presentation, it's less logical than before. Just the way I look at it. They've acknowledged that they need to deal with the governor on this. They need to go to Baton Rouge. Your job is not to do public education. That's the school board. Your job is not to have streets in the city of Shreveport. That's that. Their arguments to me just have no merit, period. But let's look at the reality of what we're talking about. There's ways to bring economic development. One, you can purchase a building and hope people come here like you've done with the GM plan and you're making a good investment there. You can also contribute to economic development groups who help bring businesses and help stimulate existing businesses. Northwest Louisiana Economic Partnership is a great example of that, helping existing businesses and bringing here. You can also make contributions to groups that help start up businesses. And you have funded EAP, Entrepreneurial Acceleration Program with BRF, $450,000 in 2016, $235,000 in 2017, and they're on the books for $235,000 this year. That'd be a total of $920,000. And they've had a great success story, and they've published a number of screenings and things like this. Here in this situation, you have an existing company that has spent $23 million of their own money, hired 86 new people, and they're asking for $90,000 a year tax break. That's a total of $450,000 in taxes that they're asking for. You fund other economic programs, good programs, that maybe not be a total of $451 a year, but overall. We need economic development. There's several ways of getting it. And when you give a tax exemption, you're not paying money out of your pocket for other things. This clearly satisfies the state standards, and you should follow those. Just because there's been authority to you to deviate, that's good. But this fits the mold. And the arguments made against it are just not logical. I'm sorry, with all due respect, they're not logical. Look at what you do to bring in economic development. And please approve 100% of this.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Settle. Thank you for your comments. Scott Martinez, is Scott here? Oh, there you are. You get hidden behind those things I can't see sometimes. So, Mr. Martinez, if you can state your name, you have 3 minutes. And
I'm Scott Martinez. I'm at 225 Wingfoot Drive in Shreveport, Louisiana, area code 71106. Commissioner Chavez is my commissioner. I'm representing the North Louisiana Economic Partnership. I'm here to thank Calumet. Thank Calumet for investing $60 million in payroll annually in Caddo Parish, for paying over $4 million in property taxes, and for the over 270 jobs that they provide in Caddo Parish that support families in Caddo Parish. We're up here talking about exemptions. If they don't spend money, you can't exempt it. If they're not investing money in this parish and hiring people in this parish, you can't exempt it. As Mr. Settle said, it's not like you're giving away anything. You can't give it away if they don't invest it. So I look at it through a different lens. I'm fortunate and extremely blessed to own a home in Caddo Parish. I get an exemption, a pretty healthy exemption with my homestead exemption. The church I attend gets an exemption. So exemption, and I want it to continue getting those exemptions. So exemptions aren't necessarily a bad word. I look at a company like Calumet that over time has put tens, if not hundreds of $1 million into the Caddo Parish economy, and they're here today to continue to invest in this community, continue to employ people in Caddo Parish, and more importantly, employ people at a wage rate so they can support themselves and their family and not be a drain on our social services. So I obviously support this. I think there's obviously work that can be done as we look at property tax exemptions, and this continues to be an area that is going through lots of change. So I support this exemption. I support Calumet, and I want us to continue to be an attractive place to attract business, to retain business, and more importantly, to provide jobs that employ Caddo Parish residents so they can support their families. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. We can talk about capital investment, we can use these sterile numbers as far as direct employment, but it's about providing jobs that support our family and residents here in Caddo Parish. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is the great Clifton Starks. Mr. Starks, you here? Oh, there you are. I lost you there. I lost you for a minute. I was beginning to wonder if you left.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon to all the commissioners and to the staff. And I really appreciate the opportunity to come before you. But Mr. Sell and the gentleman that was ahead of me, they have said a lot of things that was on my heart and mind. So I won't use all of my time. I'll just use a little bit. It's one thing, I read an article, seemed like it was this morning, and first of all, you know, I support Calumet, the tax exemption, and it was something that I read was that they cannot pick up and leave. and they couldn't leave. Well, that could be a true statement. Maybe they can't leave. But it's one thing that I know for sure, that any employer can lay off employees anytime that they see fit. And it's one thing about this manufacturing and any manufacturing company, when they manufacture products, their products, it leaves their plant and it goes other places, which create jobs in other locations. Some can be within the parish, some can be in other parishes. But it's a win-win with a manufacturing plant is producing products. It's a win-win situation. And we have to consider that and keep that in heart, because with everybody being involved and individuals that's working and making livable wages, they are able to buy cars, homes, and sometime 2 automobiles. They'll be able to buy the spouse, a car or whatever, and they can be able to take the children to different activities, and it's just a great help. And anytime you spend money, you spend in tax dollars. You have to pay taxes on those dollars that you spend. So it's just a win-win, and all of us receive some type of exemption. I do, and I think most of us that own homes receive tax exemption. So it's a win-win. Thank you, and I appreciate you all, and I appreciate all you do. And in closing, I like to say I hope that you can send a strong signal to the community, because it involves really, you have some of your constituency, whether they work directly for Calumet or work at another entity that whatever product
Your time
that
expired,
they produce.
Mr. Starks. Your time expired. Everybody out there in the audience has let me know, so I'm sorry.
Okay.
Have to cut you off, but appreciate you here. Appreciate your comments. So
Okay, thank you, and I appreciate you all. Thank you so much.
Okay, moving on to our next item, Mr. Clerk.
We have no visitors, no special resolutions. Need to adopt the regular session minutes. from
So
April
moved.
5th.
approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watson, seconded by Commissioner Matthew Lynn, to adopt the regular session meeting minutes from April 5th, 2018. Please vote. Okay. That passes 12-0. Mr. Clerk, moving to our next item.
Next, we move to public hearing on ordinances. Ordinance number 5765 of 2018, amending budget investment revenue expenditures, reserve trust fund, and riverboat fund, to provide an appropriation of $86,000 for United Way of Northwest Louisiana for the Louisiana 211.
Is anybody here to speak in favor of this ordinance? Is there anybody here to speak against this ordinance? See no one, I declare this public hearing closed. Moving to our next item, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we move to zoning ordinance for final passage. Ordinance number 5754, 2018, in regards to zoning case P18, delayed from March 22nd, 2018, amending the zoning of property located 1,018 feet south of Pine Hill Road, Caddo Parish, from RMHP Residential Manufactured Home Park to R15 Single Family Residential District.
Move to adopt.
Have a motion by Commissioner Lyndon Johnson to adopt the ordinance as written. Is that correct?
Yes.
That is made by Commissioner Lyndon Johnson, seconded by Vice President Lynn Cawthorn. I see no one to speak. Please vote. And that passes 12-0. Moving to our next item, Mr. Clerk.
Ordinance for final passage, delayed from April 5th, 2018. Ordinance number 5759, amending Article 3 of Chapter 19, Code of Ordinances relative to the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust.
So move for adoption.
Second. Have a motion by Commissioner Stephen Jackson to adopt ordinance number 5759 of 2018. That has been seconded by Matthew Lynn. Please vote. And that passes 7, it does take 7, is that correct?
Yes.
7 to 5? Okay.
It has.
So that passes 7 to 5. Moving to our next item.
Next, delayed from April 5th, ordinance number 5761 to close an abandoned Golf Ridge Drive located.
So moved.
Hang on, let me read it. Go ahead. Go ahead. And read. Did you finish reading it?
That's fine. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Chavez to adopt ordinance number 5761 to close an abandoned Golf Ridge Drive. Do I have a second? That was seconded by Commissioner Gerald Bowman. Please vote. Oh, you have a Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts?
Yes, could you just give me some clarification on exactly what we're doing here? In closing this?
Hang on one second. Hang on. Why don't we let Jimmy Whittington, he's with the Public Works Department, if he can briefly describe that.
The action you're taking today, we're just closing and abandoning a public dedication and reverting it to private property.
Okay, so it was actually a public dedication before today, and we're reverting it to private property.
Right.
So
we do not maintain, there is a road there, but we do not maintain it. It was not built to our standards.
Okay, so this one was never maintained by the parish of Caddo?
No, ma'am.
We never accepted it into the system.
Thank you. Okay, that's it.
You clear?
Mhm.
Okay. Please vote. And that passes 12-0. Moving to the next item.
Ordinance number 5765 of 2018, amending the budget estimate revenues and expenditures for Reserve Trust Fund, Riverboat Fund.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion made by Commissioner Lyndon Johnson to adopt ordinance number 5765 and seconded by Vice President Lynn Cawthorn. I have one, Commissioner, is that Stephen Jackson?
Yeah.
Commissioner Stephen Jackson?
Well, I just want to let it be known that I have checked with the Ethics Board and I will be recusing for this. My company that I work for, we receive a grant from United Way. They do a lot of great work, but I will be abstaining from this vote to give no appearance of a conflict of interest.
Let the record reflect that Commissioner Stephen Jackson will be abstaining based upon the record that he just said, please. At this time, if everyone can please vote. And that passes 11 to, does it have you
We
showing?
have one abstention.
It shows, okay.
It's not showing, but I will mark it. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. And moving to our next item, Mr. Clerk.
Zoning ordinances for introduction by title, ordinance number 5766 of 2018, in regards to zoning case P718. Amending the zoning of property located on both sides of East Preston Street, approximately 700 feet east of Captain Shreve Drive, Caddo Parish, from NA natural areas to District RE, Residential Estate District. Next, we move to ordinance for introduction by title, ordinance number 5767, amending the budget of estimate revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund in the amount of $31,506 to provide an appropriation for the Safe Summer Program.
So moved.
No, it's just introduction.
Funds remaining at the end of December 31, 2017. Ordinance number 5768, amending the budget of estimate revenues and expenditures for the general fund and to the Riverboat Fund for the year 2018 to provide an appropriation of $25,000 for the Juvenile Court Facts of Life Program. Ordinance number 5769, to close and abandon the public dedication located at Alena Park subdivision. Ordinance number 5770 of 2018, to close and abandon the portion of Riviera Street located in section 19, township 18 north, range 14 west, in the parish of Caddo. Ordinance number 5771, to close and abandon a portion of Edson Boulevard located in section 19, township 18, north, range 14, in Caddo Parish. Next, we need to ratify the minutes for the work session.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Matthew Lynn, I believe that was seconded by Commissioner Mike Middleton, is that correct? Or Commissioner Lyndon Johnson to approve the work session minutes of April 16th. Please vote.
Just kidding.
And that passes 12-0. Next item, Mr. Clerk, please.
Next, we move to resolutions. Amend the rules and bylaws of Caddo Parish Commission regarding order of agenda and agenda items.
Move to amend.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Lyndon Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Stephen Jackson. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson, do you want to speak?
Well, I just was going to ask the author of this legislation. I know we put it in to sort of streamline our meeting process, and I like how we did today. We just went right into our business. And for some reason, my clock still is not right. I'm looking down, it's saying 5:30. But if the author wouldn't mind amendment that would allow us to put communiques at the top and the bottom, and I'm asking that because the original intent when we did it was to put communiques at the top and the bottom in the event, you know, somebody wanted to wait till the end to speak, or if they had something to say at the very beginning, they could say it at the beginning. That way we had an option either way, and I would hope that we would be professional enough to know that if we got a packed agenda, we might want to hold our comments to the end, or if we have a light agenda, we could go ahead and tie our communique. So I'm just trying to see if we'd be open to exploring it.
Is that a motion?
Yeah.
I'll second
A long one.
I'll second the motion.
Well, it's to
Okay.
add communiques to the top and the bottom.
Okay, I don't think he can, Robert Rules of Order does not allow him to make a motion after he's already spoke. So he was speaking to Commissioner Lyndon Johnson, so
Okay.
we've got to
Nice try.
we got to keep going. My question, and I'm on the board, is I kind of like the way it moved to the communiques and committee reports to the end like it is now. And I was, I'm just talking to you. Do you like it back up like it was?
Right.
The
The reason why I want to put it back at the top is when we have a lot of public comments, it's, a lot of times we go through our business, and then by the time we get down to communiques, the public is gone. And so there's no way to clarify the information that was said during
I
public
got you.
comments.
So your point is, and I remember you saying that, so people comes up here, talks to citizens' comments, then you're able to what happened the other day is why
Right.
we don't.
Right.
It really doesn't make that much difference to me, but I don't want it twice. I either want it at the top or at the bottom. I'd rather have it at the top or the bottom, and then it doesn't really matter to me. So I'll vote in favor of it.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Lynn?
A motion to add it to the beginning and at the end.
Okay.
Second.
All right, so.
The communiques
Okay, hang
and
on,
reports,
just hang on.
including.
Let me get this straight. So Commissioner Matthew Lynn makes a motion, seconded by Commissioner Stephen Jackson, the substitute motion to have two places for communiques and committee reports, to have it at the beginning where it used to be and at the end where it currently is. That
is correct.
Okay. Does everybody understand?
That's an amendment to the resolution.
Amendment to this resolution. So it'd basically be a substitute motion at this time. So we're talking about the substitute motion. Commissioner Chavez, you're on the board?
On Commissioner Lynn's
Motion?
motion, I don't know if this, I think this would actually be a substitute motion, but I'd
That's
like
what I
to.
said, substitute.
Can we, if they speak at the beginning, they cannot speak at the end, so they have to choose. I think
That
that's
was
fair.
I think that would be a professional
That's what I'm saying.
decorum for them to choose.
So, I'm, okay. If you're willing to have it read that way, then I'm good for it. That's all, President.
Commissioner Jackson?
Okay, and this will be my first time on the substitute. So the way, if you look at like the city council meeting, if you speak at the beginning, you have to speak to what's on the agenda. And so if it's not on that way you don't get redundant. And so if it's not on the agenda or addressing a citizen's concern, then you have to wait till the end. And so if it's at the end, that's when you make your announcements about, hey, community garden this week, and you make your general announcements. But if you're going to speak specifically to a citizen, and I get it, I understand sometimes you want to speak before folks leave, but you know, it's just an option to, I like the way we just flow straight on through our meeting, because a lot of times if you get 5 minutes times 12, we hear that's add an extra hour minus, I might take Commissioner Smith's 5 minutes and get 10. But that's an hour before we even get into our actual agenda and can move out. And so that's why I was saying add the communiques up top for agenda items and public, and to respond to public comments, and then add communiques just for the general order. Something may come up before we get out of here that somebody may want to speak to, or just hold it to the end. And I would think we would have professionalism to have it both ways, and I'm not hard pressed either way, so.
Okay. I understand what Commissioner Jackson's saying, but that's not how the amendment by Commissioner Lynn was read, unless he wishes to make it a friendly amendment to that effect, but.
Yes, a friendly amendment.
I'm happy to that friendly amendment.
Okay,
That's fine.
so
Accept that.
let me get this straight. I want everybody clear, and Commissioner Lynn, help me if I'm wrong. So Commissioner Lynn makes a motion, and I'm assuming, Stephen Jackson, you're going to second that motion, to basically be a substitute motion to say the communiques and committee reports at the beginning will only be related to items that are on the agenda, or any items to address a citizen's comment during public comment period, or something relative to the agenda.
Right.
That the communiques and committee reports that are on the later part of the agenda will be items concerning.
Just communicate.
Just communiques that the commissioner wishes to speak about concerning general issues in his district, or whatever else concerning parish issues.
I promise you the latter part is not long, because most folks are usually ready to go.
Okay. All right, so we're going to vote on, first we'll vote on the substitute motion, if we can vote on that at this time.
This is the beginning and the end.
This is the one beginning and end. Okay, so that passes 10-2. So that overrides the original motion. We don't need to vote on it or anything of that nature. So that substitute motion passes. Todd,
Now we need to approve it as amended.
okay.
Okay.
So
that makes more
I have a motion by Commissioner Matthew Lynn. Is that okay?
Yes, to approve as amended.
Seconded by Commissioner Stephen Jackson to approve it as amended. Please vote.
Voted.
Okay, that passes 11-1.
Goes vote.
Todd, both of mine were on, but it came out correctly. My yes and no were showing.
No, it's gone.
Okay.
It doesn't matter, just letting you know.
You're good?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, next item, Mr. Clerk.
Resolution 27-2018 approving Calumet Shreveport Lubricants and Waxes LLC participation in industrial
Move to
tax-
approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner John Atkins to approve resolution number 27 of 2018, approving Calumet Shreveport Lubricants and Waxes LLC for participation in the industrial tax exemption program. That was seconded by Commissioner Gerald Bowman. Heard that first, Commissioner Milton. All right, so we do have some commissioners on the board that desire to speak, and we'll go to Commissioner Lyndon Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm basically stating that I won't be able to vote because I do work for Calumet and there's a conflict of interest. But through the state statute, I can talk. Just want to kind of clarify some issues that some comments that I heard earlier, and that each state tax structure is set up totally different. So when you compare one state to another state, it's like comparing apples to oranges and not apples to apples. Doing some research, looked and saw, and I mentioned this Monday that Calumet is the third highest paying company that pays taxes in Caddo Parish, and that's at $4.2 million. That's the number I didn't have Monday for you, but I got it now. And also, I heard that our taxes, we've rolled forward on taxes. Based on what I know Since 2000, we have always wrote taxes back, so on our millages, so that was not a correct statement as well. We have invested in economic development in Caddo Parish since I've been down here, given some organizations over $450,000 to do economic development, and there wasn't a lot of public cry about that. The millages, I added them up, and it's 156.747 millage. Of that, we are only talking about 25.57. The school board has 73.3. So the residents of Caddo Parish, most of your taxes go to school board. One question that I do have is, where in Caddo Parish can you go in, entry-level job, and make $21 an hour and progress up to $36 an hour in this city? Hard to find. As far as the parish money and towards schools and our youth, we have money that we put toward the truancy programs. We have after-school programs that we do with nonprofit organizations. We have summer jobs for our youth. We have youth events to keep them safe during the summer. We spend quite a bit of money that I think for the students and the youth of Caddo Parish. As I mentioned too earlier in our debates from the subcommittee and also Monday, is that when you're talking about the ITEP money, you're talking about money that might not be spent every year. The company might not spend that money every year because it's about projects. And if you're already paying $4.2 million in property taxes, that's what you're gonna get every year guaranteed. Sales tax would be a variable. So depending on how much you spend, sales tax coming into the parish will go up or down. But when you have these projects, it's where this extra money comes in at. And if a company is not willing to invest in a company in Caddo Parish or Bossier Parish or whatever parish it might be, then that money doesn't exist. And so with the applications, we're at $23 million, and the taxable value of that is $3.5 million. So I asked, what about the other $19.7 million? That's taxed. So it's not 100% tax of the total value that was invested in the projects. One thing I also ask you too to think about, if you remodeled your home and you got it remodeled, you put new stuff in, are you gonna pick up the phone and call the tax assessor to say, come out and reassess my property? They'll pay more taxes. And if everybody can do that, then vote no. But if you won't do that, then vote the other way. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Lyndon Johnson. Point of order was made by John Atkins. He was the maker of the motion. He should have been allowed to speak. He is on the board. I will, since you made the motion, I will allow you to speak at this time, Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you. I will say that Commissioner Lyndon Johnson did a wonderful job of supporting my position on this matter. As you all know, I support capital investment and payroll increases over additional taxes. So I'm very supportive of providing the ITEP exemption in this particular case. Let me remind you all that Calumet is investing $23.5 million in 8 projects that will yield 83 new jobs with the $3.3 million of payroll. Now those new jobs have been signed, documents have been signed by the Vice President of Tax by Calumet testifying to those new jobs. I'm taking his word that those new jobs exist. So I think it's appropriate to award Calumet with this particular tax exemption. I might also add that our friends at Together Louisiana implied that they want to be part of the process and more part of the process. I've talked to just about every one of you guys on multiple occasions as the chair of the Economic Development Committee, and I respect y'all's expertise with respect to the process. However, some people just have fundamentally different views as to how they see the world and how they want to address a certain issue. And unfortunately, it's not that I don't respect your views, we just have different views in that regard. So I pledge to continue to work with you as I have in the past And but just because I pledge to work with you doesn't mean I'll always agree with you. So those are two different things. So please, I respect you guys, but please respect the fact that I may have a different opinion or a different view. There was also Miss Caldwell illustrated a chart of the Great Falls, Montana plant, the Calumet plant in Great Falls, Montana, the Calumet plant in Bexar County, Texas, and the Calumet plant in Shreveport, Louisiana. And she was making reference to the differences in tax-exempt versus taxable properties in each of those three plants. Well, it's interesting to note that when you look at these three plants, in Great Falls, Montana, there's $312 million of property there, of capital investment. In Bexar County, Texas, there are $102 million of investment. In Caddo Parish, Louisiana, there are $624 million of investment. So we see significantly more investment in Caddo Parish than in these other two facilities that Ms. Caldwell referred to. I personally would much rather see Calumet continue to invest additional monies into our parish, into our region, to continue to build our industrial base here and to continue to build our employment base here. So for those reasons, I'll be voting to support the tax exemption. Thank you very much.
Okay, Commissioner Bowman?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I do want to say, especially to Interfaith, that I do feel that you are respected, at least by me, and I actually have a lot of respect for every one of you. Number one, we're connected by the part of Interfaith. That means we believe and have faith in higher power and God. And so that's one thing that connects us. But another thing is, I really support most of everything you say, but this one, this is something different for me. But what's consistent from me is, it was kind of hard kind of looking at it, but when I look at not apples to oranges and things of that nature, I look at what I've always said before, especially in my district, and then when I get calls, or even when I randomly surveyed or explain both sides unbiasedly of what's going on, even what's presented, some of my constituents overall and overwhelmingly, they are with me in something that I've always been about, and that's jobs, retaining jobs, even growing those that we have, and even trying to increase and bring new ones. And yeah, some of my constituents even said, well, I don't think nobody should get any type of, rebate or any type of tax exemption, rather. However, all of them, most of people, and they want jobs. In my district, I don't have that much, and I think regardless of that, we have to try and keep people who are trying in businesses, and this business didn't just come along. Like I said, it could have been called Pennzoil Atlas or anything else. I'm going to support it. I'm going to always support jobs, economic development, and especially in my area when we have another parish and people who seems to be on the economic boom. I'm never going to stand in the way of stopping our area to boom our parish. And it's just like, I look at sometimes it's similar to how we kind of lost the movie industry in a way up here, in a way, because sometimes we attract businesses, we get them here, but then when they're doing things for us, we go at the end and try and change stuff on them, and then they're gone. And so I don't want to see that happen, at least with a company like this. It's nothing political. Like I tell you, no matter who it is, where it is, I'm going to be for jobs and economic development and growth. And that's where I stand. And I respect and love you all on this. I have to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bowman. And now we have Commissioner Matthew Lynn.
Economic development is a fantastic thing, and I think that it's something that we should support. I salute our forefathers that in 1925 they bought the land in Bossier that at today's value would be $112 million to house Barksdale Air Force Base, for which Barksdale Air Force Base, with our tax dollars, purchases $250 million a year in fuel from Barksdale Air Force Base, from Calumet Refinery. That's the type of investment that I think is great, and I believe that our forefathers made that investment so that Calumet could continue to give back to the community, because they knew that even though Barksdale would have humans, Barksdale will not be paying any taxes, not on the fuel that they buy, nor on the land that they sit on. In a few months, we're going to be going to the taxpayer, and we're going to be asking the taxpayers to let us tax you, the individual. But right now, we're asking the taxpayer. We're like, well, hang on. We're gonna give $400,000 in credit to this larger company, when we were the same people that brought this company here by donating the land to the federal government for Barksdale Air Force Base. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Commissioner Chavez.
Thanks, Vice President. You guys pretty much said everything as far as the numbers. I think the only thing that hadn't been touched on yet is looking at the application. The 83 new direct jobs are going to garner a payroll amount of $3,347,320, and they're asking for a 5-year exemption at 100%. That 100% is going to equate out to $450,575, but nobody's spoken on what the 5-year payroll will be. If we want to talk about economic development and stimulating the economy, sure, we're not going to get the $450,000, but what we will get is $16,736,600 to stimulate the economy of jobs, of taxpayers in Caddo Parish purchasing many, many goods and services. I applaud Calumet for that and for adding the stimulus of $16 million injected into our economy. So I, for one, will be voting for this. Together Louisiana, again, I've heard you've heard this from the other horseshoe members. This is nothing against you guys, just a different point of view. But I do appreciate you guys for coming out and playing part in this. So thank you for doing that today. Vice President, that's all.
Okay, thanks. I'm up next. I want to first and foremost thank the people of Louisiana Together and Interfaith. It's always an honor to see people avail themselves of the political process, to put their views before the public in the public square so they can be adjudicated. As I have discussed this with some of the people of Interfaith, that there are some points that kept coming up. The first one was the process. I have spent an inordinate amount of time reviewing the governor's executive order and how this process should work. And so one could say that this could be a black and white, meaning the text, looking at the text and making the decision whether or not they qualify or don't qualify for the exemption. And based on my research, my review, my massaging of the numbers, and information before me, they do. But also I want to also add this. When we look at the commitment that we're going to make in the way of an exemption. Now that exemption is given all around the tax code in Louisiana, whether it's a homestead exemption, exemptions for nonprofit organizations, and et cetera. So they do exist. But as a corporate citizen, Calumet, we will give up an exemption to the tune of $450,000 over a 5-year period of time. Calumet, it's just been mentioned, they're one of the largest largest tax contributors to the Parish city here locally, to the tune of about $4.2 million on an annual basis. If you take that and multiply that by 5, that's $20 million. We giving up $450,000 over that same period of time. The return on assets, the return on investment, that's almost 8 to 1. So it goes without being said, without even going through the litany of the jobs they're providing, the security and the tax base and the sales tax and that sort of thing here. But Lady Carlson mentioned something that really resonated with me today. And she said that they want to be a part of the process. And let me share something with you. Since 2008, when we had the Great Recession, of the 100 largest communities in the United States, all of those communities have recovered jobs and added to their community an additional 6 million jobs. That's the top 100 cities and economies in the United States. To the converse of that, when you look at small to mid-sized economies, $200,000 left, economies like ourselves, they are still down to the tune between 300 and 500,000 jobs. So being a part of the process is understanding how we coexist with traditional economic development and non-conventional economic development. So when you begin to look at companies like Lyft, Airbnb, Amazon, and they have moved to some smaller communities. As a smaller community, we're going to have to be more nuanced in the way that we approach economic development. So that's not to say that we need to void and do away with traditional economic development, but we also need to be able to accomplish that at a citizenship of about 200,000 people, you add in the parish about 254, that we're not as competitive as some larger communities. But being in the spirit of the comment that you just made is that, yes, you do need to sit at the table, because Interfaith and Together Louisiana has a nuanced thought process as to deal with 21st century economic development issues. And I would love to be a part of that dialogue, a part of that conversation. And lastly but not least, I think that Calumet has been a good corporate citizen and they've done well by this community. So I've had some conversations with people this week, and back and forth, the minutiae of the issues of what's the real deal. Because we're here in the Bible Belt, this is the best analogy that I came up with. That you take for an example that if you were a 30-year member of a church, all right, you tithe, you've been a part of the building fund, you may have been a proportionate giver. You supported Christian education, you supported youth development, and you was on the usher board. You did everything it took to build that local church, all right? And you just happened to, as a result, have some money saved and be able to live a decent lifestyle. By some happenstance, the church gets a philanthropic contribution, all right? And you, a person that's been a part of that church for 30 years, and say, well, we want to put some projects out here so we can help our church and our community. You go before the trustee board say, yeah, but you know, Ms. Smith, I know you've done well, you've been a big tither, but you really don't need any additional help. What we want to do is to focus more on people with some new ideas and some different ideas. As a member of that church, what would be your response? You mean to tell me that 30 years of membership here, my consistent tithing, my consistent offering, my consistent being a part of every entity as best as possible of this church, at the end of the day, that person is going to feel that they're being penalized for trying to do well and do good at the same time. And so, having said that, I'm in favor of granting Calumet this exemption, but I do leave the door open as we move on down the road in our community, being able to communicate that we do embrace Lady Carson's idea of having a seat at the table and incite and invoice. Thank you.
Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts.
Wow, thank you, Mr. President. Brother Carthorne, I need you in my church to put emphasis on our building fund. I feel rejuvenated. I feel like giving right now. Oh, thank you. But Together Louisiana, you all are a well group of organized people who I have the pleasure of working with. And you know, just like you, I believe in the people too. And with that being said, I have nothing but RESPECT, like Aretha Franklin would say, for you. But this is deeper for me today. Unlike other times, I've received calls from a lot of Calumet employees. Some of them have been contractual workers as well. With that being said, so many of them are basically on banana peels. They're just standing around Shreveport because of things like Calumet. There's not a lot that we have to offer here. The other day I was talking to Siri, and she couldn't understand what I was saying. So I asked her for Google, and she said, let's compare apples to apples, and that's no comparison. I said that to you today to remind you of some of these cities that you've presented to us on your paperwork and in your comments. There's no comparison. We don't have the things to offer to people as some of these larger cities does. With that being said, we want to be able to have something to offer to people and to show them that we do believe in our people, and we want to do something to keep our people here in Shreveport and in Caddo Parish. I am tired of seeing businesses closed. I am tired of seeing homes for sale. Whatever we can do to produce economic development, cultivate any existing business that is here, then I am going to say yes to the people. Because at this point, it's all we have to offer to the people. All of my colleagues have made mention of the exemptions and what it is actually producing for this parish. When I think about it in business terms, if I give up $90,000 to get $4.2 million back, there's no brainer. Over 5 years, we're looking at $20 million back in return. That money is being reproduced in our school systems, in our streets. It's there for us to use. I also heard a comment that was made about the contract with Barksdale Air Force Base. That is my understanding that that contract is not existent today with Calumet. This vote today is for the people, and I will be supporting it. And I do hope that we can continue to sit at tables and make the best decisions for the people of Caddo Parish. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. This time I'm on the board. I'll call for the question.
Second.
Have a motion by.
Point of order. Can you call for the question on the first school?
Yes.
I thought our rules indicated that you had to have, each member had to have at least one opportunity to speak prior to the question being called.
If they want to.
No.
You got people who
It would be the tactful thing to do.
You got people who are still on the board.
All right, I made a motion to call for the question. It was seconded by Commissioner
Well, I
Stormy
asked for a
Gage
point
Watts.
of order.
Well, the point of order has been answered, no, that is not true.
Well,
We had
nobody's
a,
responded at all.
Parliamentarian.
I'm asking for the bylaw, what our
Hold on,
bylaws
guys.
say.
okay, hang on.
When a parliamentarian calls for, I actually have to talk on this. When somebody calls for the question, it stops all debate, and if the second is given, then we have to call for the
But
question.
what I asked for was, what does our bylaws say? I want to be very clear. I'm not debating what the point of order does with regard to Robert's Rule of Order. Our bylaws supersede Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay, hang on.
And so I'm
Henry's
asking
looking it
for,
up.
Henry,
what does our bylaws say?
Commissioner, was there a specific place in the rules that you were referencing?
Well, my understanding was it was in doing meetings or debate or something like that. I thought there was something that said each member is allotted a time to speak, and point of orders can't be
It falls
called.
under, falls under Article 8, previous question or call for the question. Previous question shall be as follows, shall remain a question. When taking the previous question, the commission shall decide the main question and shall not be, but the main question shall be considered under debate. The main question shall be considered as still remaining under debate. The main question shall stop, everything stops.
Okay,
We
so I
just-
just
we
wanted
just had that.
clarification on that.
We just,
and I
everything
think
stops at that time.
What, the part that you were referring to is in Article 4, but it says no member shall speak more than once the same question before all members are spoken, and that's the place that it talks about everybody getting to
I
speak.
just wanted to get
Okay.
clarification on that.
Okay.
And that was more of a
so
general
the question has been called. Can we please vote for the question? This will end debate.
But it failed anyway.
Okay, that passes 4-8. All right, guys, let's please get to order.
No, I
If
just
you want
was
to speak,
asking for interpretation.
if you want to speak, get on the board and I'll let you speak, but everybody's yeah, okay? So Commissioner Mike Middleton, you're on the board.
Thank you, sir. There's been a lot of stuff said around this town and to me and to other people. First of all, I've been no up to now. I am going to yes, and I'll tell you why. First of all, somebody said, I'm saying no because of the decision of someone else in the community, their entity, the Sheriff Prater, and I have total respect for him. He knows his needs, and he has made that decision. I have total respect for that. Second, I heard the term corporate welfare is what's at play here. So I say, well, Calumet employs over 400 people in Caddo Parish alone, and plus they employ people in Bossier Parish and several other places in North Louisiana. And I'll say this, about 60 of those employees are in my district, District 8, down in the port area. So thank you for cooperation, Mr. Mills. Calumet, as well as other Caddo Parish businesses, are subject to taxes voted on by the citizens, not by themselves. In other words, if we go to market, say we need this millage passed, and it only costs your house $100,000. If you have a $100,000 house, it's going to cost you X number of dollars, based on 10% of your assessed value. For businesses, it's 15% of that value. That's even more expensive. But those people, again, that's voted on by the taxpayers. They have no, the businesses have no voice in that other than to pay it. Caddo Parish School Board provides the education and welfare of their kids. The newer ITP protocol does allow them to make those decisions based on their needs, as well as it does for the Sheriff's Office, the City of Shreveport. Caddo Parish has said we can put this money into juvenile court. We're taking care of our needs at juvenile court, and also we have one of the best fiscal settings there is, or the way we're seated in our fiscal abilities right now, giving us one of the top AAA bond ratings that any entity has. I think it's like one of the top 40 in the nation or something like that. And I think that speaks well for how we're managing our money on a daily basis. I've seen verifiable proof from certain aspects of Calumet that additional FTEs, I'm sorry, let me go another way. I know these new jobs have been created by Calumet in Caddo Parish. I've spoken to other business owners who supply Calumet in some way, shape, fashion, or form. They have also increased their FTEs. I've seen the zip codes of many of the employees that are the new employees that have been hired, and most all of them are in Caddo Parish or else an adjoining parish. That just makes sense that they're probably spending their money in Caddo Parish, whether it's for food, gasoline, clothing, or whatever. Mr. Calumet and Mr. Murphy out there, they're getting me more data that I've asked for, just a more, give me even more emphasis on what I'm saying. Caddo Parish is in the best fiscal position to send a message that we are here, and I'm talking about the other entities that vote on this. We're in the best position to send a message that we are here for existing businesses and want to put out the welcome mat for new businesses. Come to Caddo Parish, please. Commissioner Atkins and Commissioner Cawthorn, they put it together on our respect for Together Louisiana. Lady Carlson, I get calls from you. Is she out there somewhere? I'm sure she's Bobby, I appreciate it. There you are. We get those calls from you, and we listen. I do, at least, and I know that. And I'm sorry about my frown a while ago. I've tried to give everyone a welcoming smile, but when you got a 63-year-old face, this is what you get.
That's pretty good, eh?
Yeah. And Commissioner Atkins, I can really rely on his ability to put it in a business perspective, the way he made his statement a while ago, and I appreciate that. So anyhow, that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Middleton. Commissioner Johnson, you've already spoken on this issue, so we'll move to Commissioner Lewis Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm proud to see my fellow commissioners express their respect for Together Louisiana and Interfaith. I think that's very significant. I, too, want to identify briefly the fact that I have great respect for the organization and what you do. I think that I've proven that, both my respect and my responsiveness, being that if and when you call me, I come. And I plan to continue to do that, so we appreciate your services, appreciate you being here today. I also like to acknowledge and say thank you to the Calumet employees that are here on today. Yeah. I want to acknowledge you and acknowledge your presence and the fact that you're here. That is significant, and that's not missed by us either. So I think those things are very important and significant in that respect. I think everyone has identified and expressed what those positions are as it relates to the contributions of Calumet to our parish and our community, and I echo that. And I think the only other point that I would speak to is that my fellow commissioner, for whom I have great respect, spoke about going to the citizens for a tax. We're going to the citizens for a renewal, and it's going to be for Parks and Recreation, who do a great job. And just like Calumet, we're able to identify the services that our Parks and Recreation provide, the benefit that they provide. So I want to kind of put that out there with a degree of clarity. And yes, we are proudly and boldly going to our citizens and asking that you would support this millage when it comes up. And for that reason, I want that clarification, and also want to express why I think it is the time to support the initiative before us as it relates to Calumet. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome. Commissioner Stephen Jackson.
Thank you, and I appreciate, I know I've got my 5 minutes. I appreciate everybody, what everybody has said. I want to first address the issue of no respect that jumped out at me, and I wrote that down. I believe we do respect everyone who comes up here, whether we agree or disagree with them. And so I continue to stress and emphasize to all of our members that we should respect everybody, and we should give everybody the attention that they deserve, whether we agree or disagree with their position. I would like to say to the Together Louisiana family, I've always been a supporter. I will continue to be a supporter. As I have articulated, that there is a Caddo Parish is financially positioned, and I think that's one of the things that is not been brought up in this conversation. Caddo Parish Commission is financially positioned to take this risk or make this investment or give this abatement. However, when you go to the school board or when you go to the sheriff's office, they may be financially positioned otherwise. And so I don't want us to become adversarial to their position. They have to look out for their budgets. The only budget that we have a fiduciary obligation to be responsible for is the Caddo Parish Commission. We can't make decisions about anybody else's budget but this budget. And I know there was a debate a couple weeks ago about us taking in more revenue than we're putting out. But if this is the decision that we are making, we have to make that conscious decision, and our administrator will have to find ways to make the adjustments within our budget to do that. And so when I look at the number, because that's the first thing I looked at, is how much is our number compared to others, and I see the city is pretty high, I see the school board is pretty high. And so they may have different positions, but we are determining the tax abatement for Caddo Parish. And Dr. Wilson, as I understand it, the way the rules work, because they have been denied by other places, they're almost guaranteed not to get a 100% exemption. Is that correct? And so at this point, we know that they will not get 100% exemption. What I don't want us to do, and I'm going to continue to have this conversation with everybody, what I don't want us to do is to get too far on either end of the spectrum where we seem like we're becoming enemies and we are becoming adversarial. We know now that they'll get an average of the abatement. They will not receive 100%. So that is settled already. Am I interpreting something wrong? And if I'm correct, all we're doing is making a recommendation to the Board of Commerce and Industry, who will give the final say.
Absolutely.
And am I correct? Are there clawback provisions?
That's correct.
In the cooperative endeavor for performance factors?
Yes.
And so the question was asked of me, why won't we put minimum standards at the local level? Well, if that is already being done at the state level, I don't want us to be redundant. I stand with working people. I stand with the chronic poor. I stand with the most affluent individuals, because I can see the bigger picture for everybody. I believe you guys believe in the beloved community, as Dr. King talked about. And that is a community where we're all sitting down having a conversation. Dr. Wilson, I believe the request was made that we would include interfaith in the meetings, and I believe they have now been allowed, because the original meetings, if I understand, were not going to be open to the public. And I called and I begged you to open the meetings up to the public. And so we have made a conscious effort to take things into consideration. And I think the governor now was seeing this blessing has sort of turned into an issue, because what we have to understand up here is when we abate these taxes, we can't go over to Baton Rouge and ask them to write us a check anymore. This is a risk that we assume now, and this is a responsibility that we now assume, because there will be no capital outlay money. And so this is the risk that we have to assume. And so I don't want us to leave here on adversarial terms. I know I kind of get in the middle of the conversations that are taking place out in the community, and I always try to temper the conversation down and try to get folks to see the other side. And so I will support this resolution to send it to the Board of Commerce and Industry, and I hope that, you know, as these conversations go on and until they promulgate the rules again, that we will continue to work to make the process better. And that's the only thing that we can do, is work toward better. Thank you.
Okay, no one else is on the board. At this time, we will be voting on resolution number 27, approving Calumet's report for participation in the industrial tax exemption program. If you're for this resolution, please vote yes. If you're against it, you'll need to vote no. Please vote at this time. And that passes 10-1 with Commissioner Lyndon Johnson abstaining. And we're moving to our next item.
Resolution number 28, authorizing the Parish Attorney's Office to request Attorney General's opinion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Lynn, seconded by Commissioner Stephen Jackson. It was a recommendation that came out of the Natural Resources Committee. Please, Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, I'll make a motion to in Glovo and adopt resolution number 28, 29, and 30 of 2018.
Okay, so the motion, a substitute motion has been made by Commissioner Stephen Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Lynn Cawthorn to Globo and approve resolution number 28, which we just spoke about. Also, resolution 29 proclaiming and supporting National Women Lung
Why
Health
everybody
Week.
leaving?
And resolution number 30 proclaiming May 5th Lemonade Day. Please vote.
That's why.
No.
Did you run them off, Commissioner Jackson?
Mr. Hand's still out there. Look at her. We have a diehard.
Hey, my friend.
But they at least got to sit through all of our
Miss
business.
Susan.
Yeah, but
Okay, that passes 12-0. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
We have no old business, we have no new business. Communications Committee reports.
nobody should have.
Just talk amongst yourselves.
Okay, if you're on communications and committee reports, please
to the
get on the
seats.
board.
Talk
First
to the
one is
seats.
Commissioner Gerald Bowman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to be real brief as we alliterate and pontificate along in this meeting. I just want to first say we'll reschedule next week soon for the Animal Services Welfare Committee meeting as well. Whenever we get the report back, there is no definite time, but until we get that, that's what's pending. Also, I just want to thank the parish, and if I could have, am I going to do it? Do we have time? Can I ask him? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Would you be able to come for just a second? And I want to thank, in the interim, thank everybody, even around the horseshoe. I want to thank Councilman Jerry Bowman. I want to thank the city of Shreveport, Swepco, everybody who came out to Queensboro, Red Cross, even people up here on the horseshoe. Everyone's been great and have supported even in front or behind the scenes, and it's been genuine care. And just want you to give us a brief update of where we are with the storm damage.
As far as the storm damage, I would tell anybody to call the 211 or call Homeland Security at 675-2255, and they will take your information. And like the Baptist Association has a chainsaw crew that's been helping out. Red Cross is helping out. But through the assessment, there was 135 addresses, with damage. 10% of them had insurance, only 13 had insurance, and the remaining 122 did not have insurance. And there were 8 just houses destroyed and 26 major damages, and the rest were considered minor. So, and that's through mainly in Queensboro, but all the areas. And as far as the public damage assessment, they run into an issue that through the state, they have to have a $6 million in assessment, but this was a very isolated, and so far the city of Shreveport only has come up with about $600,000 in assessment. The school board $102,000, and Caddo only less than $5,000. So they're still looking for other assessments to try to reach that threshold to get assistance. So, if y'all got any other questions, I can answer.
The threshold is 900,000?
Yeah, 900,000 for, that's total Caddo, which includes the city of Shreveport and any other towns in county parish. But the problem is with the state having to have $6 million, it was very isolated up here in northwest Louisiana.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mr. Tim Weaver. You and the team and staff have been very supportive and getting all the information that we need, and even to relay back to the citizens and everyone else who's interested. So I just want to personally thank you again, and thank everybody else up here. I love you all.
Yeah.
And this is what community and working together is all about. Thank you.
And I did reach out to Brian Crawford with the city of Shreveport and their public works director, Mike Woods, and said that we were more than willing to help them if they needed it, and so far they hadn't called. So.
They just Tim, stay. During this time, I've spoken to Tim a couple of times, communicated with Robert Jump. Tim and our communication has been, is there anything the parish can do? What can we do for the Queensboro area? And we've been doing everything we can.
Yes, you have, Mr. President. Yeah. Thank you, thank you.
They have pretty much, the city is taking care of everything that they have been able to do so far. So only thing I was, Tim, appreciate y'all's hard work. Appreciate you working with Robert Jump and Homeland Security. So keep up the good work.
All right, thank you.
Gerald, do you have anything else?
No, sir. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Gerald. Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts.
All right. That was quick.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to remind everyone that April is Autism Awareness Month. The Odyssey Foundation held a balloon release on March 29th. Most of us were in class here at the parish on that day, so I got a chance to go by before class that morning, but just wanted to remind everybody because we didn't do a resolution like we normally do. So I wanted to make sure that the public knows that we still are very aware that April is Autism Awareness Month, and we are still in full support of your awareness campaign. Also, April is Child Abuse Awareness Month, and on Tuesday, many of my colleagues and I planted pinwheels along with a plethora of folks from the community who came out on the Juvenile Detention Center grounds, and it was a really great event. So I just want to make sure that we are aware about child abuse awareness as well in April. There was a resolution on today. I'm wearing turquoise to remind everybody how important, especially for women, that every 5 minutes a woman dies from lung cancer. And May 6th through the 12th, we will have a resolution that we voted for on today. And I would ask Todd that it will be hung out front to remind everyone why it is so important for us to remember women, especially during National Lung Cancer Awareness Week, which is May 6th through the 12th. I'm not sure if we're working that week, but if we are, I ask my colleagues to join me in wearing something turquoise. Kelvin, I see you made it back in. I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of my constituents who you are taking care of with their rodent problems and mosquito problems. You all are doing a yeoman's job, and I just really appreciate all of the hard work that is going on at CPCRS. That is it.
Ditto.
I'm back on the board. So, Kelvin, ditto, appreciate all y'all's hard work at Animal Control. Everything seems to be going well, and you're taking care of the issues in my district. Just wanted to say thank you to Andre. Andre and I had a meeting with the Mayor, Vivian, and some other individuals concerning summer youth program. Appreciate you coming out with your staff, and hopefully we will work forward with trying to continue to our community support, not only in North Caddo Parish, but the inner city and everywhere else on this issue. So the only other thing I had was Dr. Wilson, the lady made mention that there was a public hearing going to be on a Wednesday, May something, concerning a tax issue. Is that concerning us, or is that concerning the city issue?
That's the assessor.
Okay.
The assessor is proposing a slight increase in his millage.
That is correct. Now I remember that. I just wanted to make, when that person is reading that, maybe someone's watching TV or something, to notice that it's not the parish. Commissioner Lyndon Johnson said this a while ago, and I'll say it again, that every year that I've been on here, we have not rolled taxes forward. We've rolled them back. So just want to make that clear. So I'm through. Commissioner Stephen Jackson.
That means we had no president report. If you talked to
we don't have a president's report. I did it Monday. So
you got to go up with a big bullhorn in North Caddo Parish and say we have not rolled forward taxes as well. Make sure y'all put a big sign up.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Stephen Jackson. When I do that, I'm bringing you with me, okay?
I'll be glad to come.
Because I know you can talk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Wilson, thank you all for the response to this weekend, and I know you were dealing with your brother, and our prayers are still with you in that regard, and I shot you some text messages, and you were even responding then. The storm sort of, I guess it got off I-20 and went down through Queensboro and came through Allendale because we were hit, and not so much residential damage, but a lot of commercial damage, and I think FEMA and Red Cross, SBA, and State Farm has been out on the ground assessing issues there. But if we could at some point, if we could get what is our standard practice or procedure or protocol for opening up the shelter, because what concerned me was that we have residents that went 4 days without power, and so I know we can't change what happened, but going forward, how can we assess that? Because I think what gave us a break this time was that we had cooler weather, and I don't want us to be caught in sort of a situation where it's hot and people are not as patient when it's hot. And we also have a lot of seniors in certain areas. There are high concentration of seniors who may be on ventilators. And what was a little surprise to me was if we didn't open a shelter, at least allow folks to go somewhere where they could be, at least, because a lot of the structures had open structures when the damage came in. So if we could get some kind of protocol from Mr. Jump on that one. Also, Todd, and maybe Dr. Well, I'm not sure who I'm directing this to, but either one can jump on it, is that our Facebook Live seems to go down quite often. If we need to upgrade to a different software or something, but if y'all want to get with Crystal and Nathan and check out what's going on, I know a lot of people are liking it. They have access to it. They can go right back to our meetings, and it's convenient for them. And so if we could check to see what's going on with it. Kelvin, I saw some off-site adoption, so I'm here to testify that it is happening. I saw them this weekend at Pathways. There was a health fair, resource fair in my district off North Market. And we had off-site adoptions going on there, so appreciate y'all making the effort. The young ladies seemed happy. If you can just get them a sign, I think they'll be fine. A nice little sign to put up. I think they'll be fine, but I appreciate that. Can we get a list, Dr. Wilson, maybe if you could get with Erica or Crystal, if we can get a list to the times. I saw somebody advertising about summer camps. We give a lot of money to folks up here, not folks up here. We give a lot of money to folks out there, organizations out there for summer programs, and there should not be a gap in summer programming. And so a lot of those organizations say that they do summer programming. If we can get that list out to the public to say, hey, summer's coming up, here's where you can send your child, here's where you can go get recreational activities, and just sort of send something to the media on that one. I think the public, because what I often hear is they tend to think that we give those access to those programs to our family members and our friends. And I always let them know that it's open to the public. It's free, and most of it is free or subsidized to the public, but it's with funds that the parish uses. The other comment, I just want to make a commentary to the general public, and please convey it to Mr. Whittington. When the adjudicated property sales come up for District 3, if they would just put the request in through property management, and because what is happening is folks are calling, and if I tell them, hey, the Fuller Center is working over here, I see where the Fuller Center is assimilating lots over here, they're thinking we're playing favorites with the Fuller Center, but it just wouldn't make sense for us to let somebody go buy a property in the middle of an area where the Fuller Center, and I'm just using them as an example, but it did happen last week. And I know a lot of people are going to these home buyer seminars and they say, hey, go buy up all adjudicated property. District 3 will not be exploited like that. I am for adding taxes to the tax roll. I am for putting properties back on the tax roll, but I am not for putting the properties in the hand of absent landowners. And I know we've worked on the Faith Builders program. I'd like to get with Henry to see how we can tweak it, because there are some instances where folks live next door to lots and they may want to, I don't know if we're prohibited from doing the lot next door type program, if the state law prohibited that or not, but I'll get with you, Henry. So I'll give you a break and I'll call you Tuesday instead of tomorrow.
Well, I appreciate it.
But just, expect it. But if we could look at doing something for folks who have that lot right adjacent to them or right across from them, where they could benefit from that same direct purchase option that we have, because I'm seeing that a lot as well, as folks want to buy the lot right across the street or the lot right next door. And so But I appreciate you. I think the application is almost finalized and look forward to having it. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome. Commissioner Chavez?
Thank you, President. First off, I wanted to let you guys all know about what's going on this Saturday at the American Rose Gardens. A lot of us, Caddo Parish, don't know that the gardens are home to the national headquarters of the American Rose Society. These are the dedicated rose gardens of America. I put one of these, they sent this with me to give to all you guys, so you guys should all have one. But this Saturday is going to be something special. The United States Postal Service is inviting the public to come out for their first day of issue dedication ceremony for the Peace Rose, which is pretty cool that this is happening in Caddo Parish. When this happened last year, when the U.S. Postal Service issued the first Elvis stamp, just thousands and thousands of people went up to Memphis to go to that. So it's kind of cool that it's happening here in Caddo Parish, and I hope that the public goes out for that. Second, I'm going to say this now because we won't be here next week, but next Saturday, April the 28th, from 11 a.m. till 6 p.m., Southern Hills is going to host the Music in the Park, which is an annual event. That's awesome. You guys need to come out for that. I say it all the time. Our neighborhood is the best. Not only the best, but we have T-shirts. So we have the Hills are alive. So Southern Hills is the best neighborhood. Sorry, guys. Music in the Park. I have shirts for everybody. Music in the Parks will showcase a diverse selection of food, family activities, and music. This year's musical lineup is a tribute to the folk, country, rock, and blues musicians that built our area's rich music history. We have Robert Finley coming. He's incredible. He does sold-out shows in Dallas. So you guys come out and enjoy. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have a lot of food vendors that are already planned to show up. 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., April the 28th.
That sounds like a challenge to me.
I sound like he was calling Stony Hill out when you started talking about hills, like he's calling Stony
Hey, look,
Hill.
I just speak the truth. Southern Hills is the best neighborhood. Sorry, guys. All right, that's all, President.
Okay, Commissioner Lynn, Vice President Lynn Cawthorn.
Okay, good evening, Commissioners. I just got on the mic to to let you know on yesterday we installed or honored the Port Laureate for the Parish of Caddo. It's a great event down at Art Space. And our new Port Laureate is Ashley Mace Havard. She gave a rendition of several of her poems, and then she even took the opportunity. She taught at the Renzi Center for a while, and she recited some poems of some of the youth that were there. And so I worked on yesterday. We had Commissioner Lewis Johnson in the house, and Randy Lucker that came. So it was a great event, and we was able to present her with an honorarium. And so I just want to let you guys know that we have our Port Laureate in place. All right.
And I would like to just thank Commissioner Lynn Cawthorn for going in my stead, being there, so I appreciate it.
You did a good job.
Yeah, Commissioner Cawthorn, she'll be here at our next work session.
Oh, yes. Okay. All right. Good. No,
Commissioner,
that's it.
Commissioner Lyndon Johnson.
Thank you,
You
sir.
keep acting like that, I'm going to skip over and go to Lynn.
I just started talking.
I know you would.
Be out of order. Right. I also wanted to mention too that we had no live feed, so people couldn't see from other locations other than Facebook.
No live feed?
Yeah, they couldn't see. They couldn't see
the internet
today.
is down.
So everything was down.
Website.
There is a protocol, Commissioner Jackson, that Red Cross has established in that. That was one of the things I had asked about. Did they set up the EOC? The EOC wasn't set up after the tornado that came through. Dr. Wilson, can you get with Mr. Lawrence Guidry to make sure that the money that we have set aside for the emergency disaster fund is that they will start implementing that to some of the people that's in the Queensboro and Allendale and any other area that was impacted by the tornado, that they can come and get it. Because one story I heard is that one lady just needed her electrical box put back on, and that money will help her out because I know that she was low income that had that problem. And that's one of the reasons why we put that fund in place. So might as well utilize it as much as possible. Then on April the 29th at 6 o'clock, Morning Star will go into this new sanctuary, and I'm inviting everyone to come out, and we won't be there all night, but just come out and
what was that date?
April 29th, 6 p.m.
You should have got an invite from, it was Reverend Darren Jackson, wasn't it?
Right, well, I'm giving one too.
I know,
since
but I'm
am
just saying you'll get one in the mail.
Officer and a member of the church, I'm giving one too as well, so.
Thank you, Commissioner Lindsey.
All right, thank you.
Second.
And you can come too, you know.
I know. If I don't have a baseball game, I'll try.
There ain't no baseball game on Sunday in 6 o'clock.
Yeah, they are. They are. You done?
Not enough cattle.
Commend Commissioner Matthew Lynn.
Wanted to say thank you to Kelvin and Animal Services. They did their first shelter, neuter, and return. I think they did the first 2 through the shelter itself. They have done many others through Robinson Rescue, but this was I think the first 2 that were actually conducted through the shelter. And so thank you very much. That's it.
Move to adjourn.
We're done.
Matthew, time for 3.1 seconds. Hurry up and say, move to adjourn.